Hello, my name is Michael Garrick, and this is Popping Culture Movie Reviews. My guest today is comedian and movie enthusiast Ben Stacy. Thank you so
Hey,
much for coming on to the movie review.
hey, thanks for having me, man.
Guys, if you live in the North Carolina or South Carolina area, make sure you check out Ben Stacy. Very hilarious comedian. Definitely funny. You'll definitely laugh when you come to one of his shows. The movie you chose, Ben, was Taxi Driver. Guys,
Mhm.
this will be a 100% spoiler review. But before we spoil the movie, Ben, do you believe they should watch it?
Um, yes and no, and I say that because it is a fantastic piece of film. It is a cinematic masterpiece. Um, However, saying that and the times that we're in, go into it with a grain of salt because it was made during the 1970s. It's a very different time, and it is a very dark movie. Um there's a lot of racism in this movie, and I'll talk about it in this review. And also, very just some very uncomfortable scenes, like kind of an expose that there are that at the time pimps were running child prostitutes in the streets. And like, so if you're uncomfortable with any of that stuff, I would avoid this movie. Otherwise, check it out. It's really good.
I would also like to say that me and Ben are not comfortable with pimps having child prostitutes. And,
Nah,
we're not comfortable with that either. We're just it's part of the movie.
yeah.
Uh,
Unfortunately, that's part of it. But
yeah, I want no one to be like, are they comfortable? No.
I honestly thought this would be the perfect movie for everything that's getting canceled now. Just like, dude, there's way worse stuff out there. You're just not
Yeah,
willing to look for it.
yeah. Don't.
Don't. You can ruin some fantastic cinema
Yeah.
if you do.
I'm with Ben also. Like I said, this movie definitely good. The great sense of filmmaking at that time, but definitely not meant for kids. And definitely just go into it remembering that it's a movie of its time. It was released in 1976, so just
Mhm.
make sure you remember that. All right, guys. Everything past this point is 100% spoilers. Ben, I'll let you start off, buddy.
Okay, now the movie starts with a cut to the steamy streets of New York City, and you see two headlights coming through the fog, and as it breaks, the title there, Taxi Driver, and then credits roll, and the film starts with a young man named Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro. Uh, Remember when Robert De Niro was an actor, and he he comes to work at a cab stand as a taxi driver. That's the name. And and the reason he takes this type of job is because he's having a hard time sleeping. He has just insomnia, and he's recently discharged from the Marine Corps. Uh, this movie takes place in 1974, I believe. So I think he was also in Vietnam. And as soon as he gets the job, this part you can kind of see the problems that he already has. Like as soon as he leaves that cab stand, because the first thing he does is take a bottle out of his jacket and drink from it. So we already see that he has some substance abuse issues. Um, he's driving the cab, drives the cab around, and he drives at night and he drives to wherever he just needs to go. So he gets a wide variety of clientele. So he sees some of the worst that New York City has to offer. Like he's got to give rides to criminals. He's talked about having to take people to hospitals. Like there's one scene actually where he goes to a diner with his fellow cabbies, and he's just like, and he just casually says, "Yeah, a guy got part of his ear cut off. I had to take him to the hospital." And like for most of us, that would shock us, but this is just like Tuesday night for him. And um, he's writes in a journal about how he just doesn't understand society. He thinks people are too self-involved, they're too materialistic, but he also says things that just don't make sense in the journal. So like when he states that people are too materialistic and self-involved, he's like, I think it's a person's job to be a person, which fuck only knows what that means. So we can tell he's not in the best mental state either. Um, anyway, as he's again, and him seeing the worst in society as not helping this at all. He talks about how he has to clean the blood and the cum off the seats out of his cab every night, and he's just sick of it. Now he's doing fine. He's got substance problems. He's got mental health issues, but he sees this woman named Betsy. I don't mean like dates her just yet, but he just sees her and is just like, she's an angel. She's the apple of my eye. I think to him, it's his like one shot at normalcy in life. And so he, instead of doing the gentlemanly thing of just introducing himself first, he stalks her, just kind of like sits across the street and watches her from where she works. And then finally, one day, he kind of gets up the courage to go into her office and ask her out on a date. And she's like, reluctantly says yes. And so he and Betsy go to a diner, and he's asking her all kinds of questions like, what makes you want to do this kind of work? That guy you're working with, do you like him? Does he like you? Like, he's asking questions that are just, that show that he has a pretty high level of insecurity. Like, maybe like you shouldn't be with him, you should be with me, that kind of incel shit. And she's fascinated by him. She's not like interested in him, but she's fascinated by him, and she agrees to a second date with him. Now the second date goes horrendously. He asks her out to the movies, and the movie they go to is, spoiler alert, a pornographic movie. They go to a porno theater, and she automatically is just disgusted by him. She doesn't want anything to do with him, and he sees that as, oh, she's just like the others who just reject me in society, and goes to her office and throws like not a violent tantrum, but definitely a very loud one, and saying things like, you're gonna die like the rest of them. And he leaves just because of the threat of the police being called out on him. Now, I think a big changing point after that is this scene, which is to me one of the more disturbing scenes in the film. Is he picks up a guy in his cab, and as soon as he like plans to drop him off, the guy's like, no, leave the meter running. We're just gonna sit here for a bit. And what I loved about this scene was the guy in the back seat was the director of the film, Martin Scorsese. Scorsese took on this role, and Scorsese is like, you see that window up there, the one with the light on? Yeah. You see that woman in the window? You see that woman in the window? Yeah, that's my wife. Yeah, but that's not my house. That's someone else's house. And he basically tells Travis of his intention to murder his wife and the dude she's sleeping with.
I didn't know how far you were going with this scene because I know what he says.
Oh yeah, it's bad. He drops a racial slur. Let's
Yeah,
put it that way.
Yeah, because I was like, Ben, don't go. Let's not.
No. I took notes. I know what I'm saying here.
And then he said, like, oh, wait a minute, Ben.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he's gonna kill his wife and his lover.
Yeah.
And that's, I like that scene because it just shows how fucked up his nights actually can be, how much he actually has to witness and have to be a witness to. in the streets of New York. And he even tells a friend of his, like, man, some of the shit I seen, I'm getting some bad ideas myself. And all his friend could say is like, just go out and get laid. Like, like he's not very helpful.
Not at all, man. Not
he,
at all.
he, yeah, he tries, but it's just like, yeah, go out, get laid, go get high, go do something. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Uh,
Because
no,
go
I just
ahead.
love the fact that he says everything and he says, "What do I know, man? I'm a taxi driver. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't." Like, he gives like a good like 7 minute spiel, and then just like, I don't know, man. Try your best. I don't know.
yeah. Um, yeah, I love that. I did love that. I love that it was Peter Boyle too. Fucking Ray Romano's dad from Everybody Loves Raymond, who's in that part. Um, but this real and a part that stood out to me in this movie was um the first scene with Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster plays a teenage prostitute by the name of Iris. And the first time we encounter her, she gets in the back of Travis's cab and tells her, I need to go, man. I need to go. I need to get out of here. And then her pimp comes along and basically drags her out of the car. And as he's dragging her out of the car, he throws a crumpled up $20 bill into the front seat. Now, Travis keeps like a little cigar box where he keeps his money, where he keeps his fare money, his tip money. And he doesn't put the 20 in that box. Instead, he pockets it. And we see it throughout the whole movie. We keep seeing it in like when he has to pay for something. Like there's this at one point earlier in the movie, he states that he is against that he doesn't want a gun. He doesn't feel the need to own one. But then he buys like four. he buys like four guns. He buys a 44 Magnum, a 38, like two. I'm not a big gun guy, so I couldn't tell you. I just remember the 44 and the 32 stood out in my head because numbers. But yeah, so he gets those guns, and when he's paying for it, he sees that crumpled up 20, and he still doesn't use it. And we keep seeing this trope throughout the movie. Crumpled up 20, he doesn't use it. Now, one thing I left out was the character Betsy works for this politician by the name of Palantine, which Travis has an encounter with. He like kisses his ass because of the woman he's interested in. But later on in the film, he goes to a Palantine campaign. What are they called? Where they go to like I guess a speech,
Yeah.
and he talks to a Secret Service guy, and like inquires about, hey, how do I get in the Secret Service? And the guy's like, well, just give me your mailing address and all this. And he's just like, he gives a fake name and a fake address, and then he runs off. The Secret Service are onto him, which we'll play on later in the movie. At one point, he writes a letter to his parents where he's just saying all kinds of nonsense. He's like, I'm making good money as a cab driver. I'm living in a good place. I'm seeing a girl by the name of Betsy, which we know at this point is not true. He has scared her the fuck off. And at one point he goes to he sees Iris again, starts following her in the streets, and like there's like a weird he starts to develop a weird savior complex with her. It's just like she looks a little too young to be on these streets. And so he goes to see like her pimp a few days later and inquires about her. He's like, hey, I was wondering if I could get some action. At first, the guy, the pimp, played by Harvey Keitel, it's just like, man, you're a cop. Like, I ain't telling you shit. And he's like, nah, man, I'm not a cop. And he's like, you ain't a cop? No. Shit, you a real cowboy, ain't you? Because there's a lot of Western themes in this movie. Like Travis dresses like a cowboy. He wears cowboy boots, jeans, flannel shirts, such as this one, and like the character Sport, Harvey Keitel's character, is dressed kind of like a traditional Native American, like the cowboy
Yes, yes,
Indian type
yeah,
movies. Yeah,
very much.
this is like the twisted western that takes place in a modern urban setting, and Travis's taxi is his horse essentially. He's gonna clean up these streets.
That's perfect illustration, man.
Yeah. So he goes he goes up with Iris to her room. He has to rent out the room too. Uh and she keeps making all these sexual advances to him, but he like denies her that because like she's just too young for him, and she's just like, someone like you, like I don't want to do this with you. I just want to know what you're doing with your life. And he's like, don't you even remember me? You came in my cab one night. She was like, no, I don't remember that. And he's like, yeah, you were in my cab. You told me you needed to get out of here. You needed to go. And she was just like, oh, I was probably stoned. It was like, what, the guy you hooked on drugs? It's like, I'm not hooked on drugs. And it's just like, yeah, you said you were stoned. So as that conversation goes, he's like, look, can we meet again? But not like this way. Can we like meet for like breakfast or something? And she, again, like Betsy, reluctantly agrees. And this is why I brought up that $20 bill. As he's leaving the hotel, the doorman, pimp, whatever you call him, who charged him, is just like, all right, I need payment now. And he drops that crumpled $20 bill in his hand as a weird way of saying, like, this belongs to you.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
Yeah. Well, I didn't notice that anytime I saw it until this time. I was just like, that $20 bill means something because we keep seeing it throughout the movie, but he never uses it until that scene. I thought that was a brilliant piece of filmmaking right there. Just
Yeah,
a plot point in a way. But he and Iris have breakfast, and essentially he's trying to convince her to go home or go back to school. Something's just like, you're too young for this kind of work. Like, well, don't you have parents? She's like, yeah, but my parents hate me. And she's like, why would you think that? And so Iris basically becomes like, he wants to save her. Like, his hero complex is kicking in again. He develops kind of a hero complex about her, to which Travis goes through some intense training, and as we see through the movie, we do actually subtly see him transform. Like, at the beginning of the movie, he had like longer, greasier hair,
yep.
and after his like tiff with Betsy, we see that it's become cropped, a little more cropped. He stopped wearing like a windbreaker and started wearing his old military jacket, and he's just developing all these ways to hide weapons and whatnot. And another good scene was where he's at a convenience store. He's buying groceries, and then there's someone robbing the convenience store. And as the guy's robbing the convenience store, Travis pulls out one of his guns and shoots the guy. And what was weird about this scene was, like, the guy was like clearly dead or unconscious from it, but the store owner came out from behind with like a crowbar and just starts beating the body. Like, I really didn't know how to interpret that scene, other than like the shopkeeper can be just as bad as the guy robbing him.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it.
Yeah, and he again, it's one of those things that Travis just witnesses, and he's just kind of horrified by it. Now back to the transformation, his kind of de-evolution. I mentioned cropped his hair, wearing his army jacket, but the last we see him prepping, like putting taping a knife to his boots, hiding these guns, making this like contraption to where one can just shoot out and he just have it in his hand. I thought that was cool as fuck, and I tried to build one of those once.
I was like, this is like some like Punisher slash Spider-Man type stuff. That's what I was thinking. Like forget
Yeah,
webs. I'm gonna shoot guns.
yeah. And then he starts writing a letter. He writes a letter to Iris, and he puts like a good amount of money into an envelope. And the letter says, "This is to help you get out of the life you're in now. By the time you'll read this, I'll be dead." And after that, we see another Palatine campaign speech about to happen. And there was this great shot of Travis. He pulls like a you just see him from like here up, like here up, and then he's like taking a piece. He takes a piece of gum out of his pocket, like subtly opens it, and then as he puts it in his mouth, just full mohawk with and sunglasses. So he's not recognizable to Secret Service people because his intention is to kill Charles Palantine.
Yep.
He's going to assassinate this man because in his eyes, this is the man that is ruining society in general because he's the leader of this city and he is, and under his care, it's just being destroyed in his eyes. But Secret Services catches him right before he makes his attempt, and so he bolts off before they can before he can do anything, and before they can make it like an arrest. So, in like a last ditch effort to quote unquote save society, he goes back to sport Harvey Keitel's character, and is and this is the climax of the movie. He keeps asking Keitel questions like and irritating Keitel. He's like, "You know anything about Iris?" He's like, "The way you talk about her and all this stuff." Like, I don't know no Iris and all this stuff. I forget what it was, but he says something that like really pisses him off, and Keitel flicks a cigarette at him and just starts kicking him. And then Travis pulls out his gun and just goes, "Suck on this," and shoots him. Then he goes into the very hotel that Iris is staying at. And the guy at the door from earlier is just like, "Hey, what do you want?" And as soon as he lifts his hand up, Travis pulls his 44 and blows the guy's hand apart. Sport, still alive, shoots at Travis, hits him right in the neck. He turns around, kills Sport, and I mean, like, a bit of overkill. Like, goes back and shoots him like 3 times. And then as he goes up to quote unquote save Iris, the doorman keeps coming at him like, "I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you." And then he gets a hold of Travis, and then this guy who's like with Iris shoots Travis in the arm. Travis falls down, and the device we talked about, he shoots that out, shoots the guy in the face, and then he gets into the hotel room where Iris is at, and this door guy is still coming at him, sticks a knife in his hand, and then blows his brains out with the other guy's gun. And right as he does that, we see him turn the gun on himself, and it just goes click. Like he was going to kill himself at the end of this. He gets on her couch while Iris is in the room crying and totally shaken from the whole situation, as any normal person would be. And the police show up, and then it's an overshot of the hotel room, and you just see the carnage that Travis has committed. He killed quite a few people, and does he go to jail for this? Does he pay for his crime? No, he's praised as a hero, which he's praised as a hero in the presses. Someone who saved this teenage prostitute and basically reunited her with her parents. And there's a letter from Iris's parents that is given at the end where they say how grateful they are for Travis to uh, bring their daughter back and that he's always welcome in their home. Now, the last scene of the movie, Travis is hanging out with his old cab buddies. He's back to normal, whatever normal is for him. He's hanging out with his cab buddies and they're talking about, just they're just bullshitting around. And then he's told he has a fare and he gets in his cab and Betsy is in the back seat. And she's just like, I saw you were in the papers. He's like, yeah. How's Valentine doing? She's like, good. He got the nom. Oh, that's great. And then he drops her off, drives off. Now, Michael, I'm pretty sure you noticed this, but that last shot of Travis in the rearview mirror, and you see him like kind of do this. How did you interpret that? I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah, I remember I this is my yesterday was my first time watching Taxi Driver, and I saw Joker first. So it was kind of like not a spoiler, but like it really the Joker took so much from this movie to the fact that I looked at it the same way I looked at the Joker, where like the ending of this movie seemed just like a dream sequence. But that's just the same thing I was told when I watched the Joker. So like to see the similarities and now like to think of this movie like Joker, I really think he died when he got shot in the neck, and everything past this point is just a dream sequence.
Okay. Well, spoiler from the writer himself, Paul Schrader said that this is not a dream sequence. This is reality. However, the last shot, oh damn, the last shot of Travis, he looks in the rearview mirror like this, then he looks back at the road, and then he does like a quick twitch kind of look, like, wait, what was that? And what Schrader has said about that shot is Travis is going to start that cycle again. He's still a danger to society, but people see him as a hero for what he did. But knowing what we know he's a genuine danger to society.
So he's gonna try to date her again and blah blah blah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool, cool, cool. So how do you feel about the pacing of this movie?
I thought the pacing was actually perfect because I was invested the entire time. Like I was watching this. Like some of the sequence, like the how do I describe the pacing? Like they were able to segment everything very well. You know what I mean? We get like different. Travis is out of his mind, but we get different aspects as to why he might be like that.
I agree. Yeah, I'd love the pacing of this movie. I wouldn't say it's too long. The reason why I wouldn't say it was too long, I don't feel like it was any scene that I would have wanted deleted from the movie.
Yeah.
Um, whenever a movie's over 2 hours, I usually see one scene that's like, oh, I don't think they had to leave that in. But for this movie, for the story, I think every scene need to be in. You talked about a few scenes, but can you elaborate? Wow, yeah, public school education. Can you elaborate on the dialogue and why the dialogue was such a big part of this movie?
Well, the dialogue helps to express just how do I explain it? The dialogue is there to kind of show us um, the reality of what it was like to live in New York City at the time. Because we think of New York as like this mecca, this haven for like if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. But in the 1970s, you didn't. New York City was basically Gotham at the time. It was very crime ridden. There was like a huge heroin spike at the time due to it coming in from countries like Vietnam and the Vietnam War. On top of that, we had like you know, racism was still very prevalent at that time, and you know, crimes that most people weren't aware going on at the time that were going on. I thought that really played into what was the dialogue. It's just reality.
Yeah, exactly. What you think of the soundtrack?
I loved it. I love the jazzy tones in it, and
Nice.
yeah, I just this yeah the soundtrack really helped make the movie. Because you think that romantic like jazz music. I don't know. I don't know how to put it.
What I love so much about it, what I love so much about older films is, if this movie was like the Joker, for standpoint, um, be each movie a movie at a time. But since you have a movie that like this that was released in 1976, the soundtrack doesn't sound like they're trying to sound like that time. It was just the music of its time, and it just flows so naturally. And that's one thing I truly enjoy. Like you said, with the jazz, and even when it gets to the action scenes, just the music that goes through there also. It just really, it it just is perfect for each scene, and I truly enjoyed that. Um, I really enjoyed that he let his scenes go. Like, it was not like single tracking shots, but like when he did it, everything seemed to flow together. I truly enjoyed that. Was there any like scene where you thought like this was perfectly shot?
Well, perfectly shot. The two that stick out the most is the now iconic. You talking to me? You talking to me? I don't see anyone else. Are you fucking talking to me? I thought that scene was shot perfectly because it really does give us a sense of Travis's isolation from the rest of society.
Yes.
And again, that last shot in the bloody climax where like he just goes with his fingers, and then you got that overhead shot of just the carnage that he left behind. I thought that was brilliantly shot.
Yes, yes. It was very Quentin Tarantino-ish. Like,
Yeah,
well,
you, yeah,
before, yeah, yeah.
but
Wow.
you can see it that Scorsese was probably an influence of Tarantino's.
Definitely, 100%. Yeah, 100% after seeing that scene. Um, what about the cast? I think everybody put on a great job. It is amazing every time I get to see a young Robert De Niro. Like that's just
Yeah.
it always makes me laugh. It's just like, okay, yeah, that guy has been acting that long.
Well, that's why that's why I made that statement at the beginning, where it's just like Robert De Niro, who used to be an actor, was, oh, because he was a great method actor. He used to be like he had a lot of great roles in his lifetime. But like I the corner store by my house, I see the red box, and he's like in some kids film, and I'm like, yeah, just retire, man. It's okay.
Hey man, he gotta make movies for his grandkids. Like you can't expect your grandchild to watch Taxi Driver and be normal. Yeah,
Oh my god, I hate that argument. I really do. I'm sorry. Sometimes I think like legends should just stop. Like I think you can get a little too. I think you can get too old. I guess is what I'm saying.
true, true. But hey, easy money is easy money. I can't lie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess. But if
they
it
may
like you got such a great career, what are you spending your money on? I
true, true, true. I feel like that
He does
every
live in
time I
New
see
York.
an Eddie Murphy movie. Huh?
I was gonna say he does live in New York though. That's not a cheap place to live.
No, not at all. Not at
Yeah.
the least bit, man.
Yeah.
Um, 1 through 10, what would you give this movie?
I give this 10 a 9. But this movie a 9.
Okay.
Sorry. Nah, I'm kidding. Um, and
I
just
thought
because I got a couple other favorites of mine.
okay,
No. This is a solid movie.
okay. I thought my
So
internet
I
had
recommend
messed up real bad.
it. No, I fucked up. Um, no, I give this movie a solid. Actually, I'll give it a solid 10. It definitely check it out because a lot of the problems that are in that movie you could definitely feel in today's society. The only issue is I just feel like a lot of people are gonna look at this movie and it's just like, this is horrible. Like, this is so offensive. Why would they ever make a movie like this? And I just pointed to go like, well, look at some of the shit that's going on now. You
It's
kind of need to
the
address these things.
people that think this movie is horrible are people that have never like been on Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, like people still amazingly talk like this in real life. Well, over a keyboard, not I guess around their friends maybe. But yeah, this is a dumb question, but I ask all my guests. Very stupid question, but do you believe that this movie will become a part of pop culture or has become a part of pop culture?
Oh, it's a part of pop culture. You can feel its influence. You mentioned the Joker so many times in relationship to this movie because that movie was Todd Phillips, the director of the Joker, has said that Taxi Driver and another Scorsese film, The King of Comedy, heavily influenced the Joker. And on top of that, you got to look at characters like Tyler Durden from Fight Club. That you can't tell me that's not a Travis Bickle inspired character, like social outcast who becomes a domestic terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard about this movie for like years, but like, thank you so much for wanting to review it because like I probably would never watch it, but yeah, I'm glad I did. Like, it's it's a good piece of cinema, man. I think Martin really. I don't know if he was young, but you get just the well, he was younger than he is now, of course. But like, he definitely like put a lot of blood and like effort into this movie. Like, this is definitely a passion piece. I can say,
Yeah, it was coked up and fresh out of film school. He was ready to do some shit. And honestly, honestly, the '70s, in my opinion, is the greatest decade for movies because film went through a fucking renaissance because they were just because Hollywood was kind of letting with like remnants from the '60s era kind of expand on what they could make movies about. I mean, you look at a movie, Al Pacino did a movie called Dog Day Afternoon, which is about a man who robs a bank to pay for his partner's sex change operation. That wasn't even heard of at the time. And so they made like a bold, a really good heist movie with that type of thing. And then you got like Star Wars came out, which was unseen to the rest of the world. I watched that high as T-Rex titties once, and I was just like, this is a perfect movie. It's got action, adventure, comedy. It's like it's a western, but in outer space.
T Rex had titties. That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, honestly, I recommend any movie from the 1970s. I really do. I check them all out. They're fantastic.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the movie review. Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans?
You can follow me on social media. Ben Stacy on Facebook. Now that's the Ben Stacy with the blue checkered flannel shirt and a backwards cap on a stage that's a little too bright for him. And also follow me at the real Ben Stacy on Instagram and Twitter. Stacy is spelled Stacy. So keep that in mind because my name gets spelled with an E a lot.
All right. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on. And thank you guys for listening and have an amazing day.